Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See detail.
News team, assemble!
It's back and bigger than ever. It's the Unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Now, here's the entire Sooner Scoop crew. Carey, Josh, Eddie, and
George.
All right, welcome back. It is the Unofficial 40 podcast right here on Soonerscoop.com, presented by, you guessed it, Schwab Meat Company, the official hot dog of game day. Schwab Meat's been smoking the highest quality smoked meats, hot dogs, and sausages in Oklahoma City since 1912. We're going to tell you more about that as we go along, but welcome in, gentlemen. We're still waiting on a delayed Eddie Radosevich to show up, but we've got Josh McCuistion here. We've got George Stoya, the third, alongside. I'm always bothered that Eddie being a third himself never gives you the third credit.
Yeah,
when he introduces you. I do it on the lower thirds.
Yeah, he's also late. What a despicable thing to be. I've never been late.
Well, you don't have a radio show in the morning.
Yeah, well, maybe I should.
Don't get one. I'm telling you, do not get one. They're horrible. Anyway, welcome. Josh is here. There's something we're trying to pod early. This look, we had to restart the pod because I forgot some stuff, and trust me, I hit record, okay? But I'm not going to bring up why we have to record early because there's a media day for a certain sport that Josh McCuistion is not allowed to talk about on the podcast anymore.
We're missing a dynamic Ebby Ara joke that really was going to change the whole outlook of the podcast.
You wanted to know if Ebby Ara was still on the team. Yes.
I like that's last year or so, right? Like he's just off the team. Like I felt that was just yesterday.
2004, I believe, right?
Yeah, something like that. That was definitely my era of like on campus life.
That was so long ago that Humphrey is on the staff.
God. Yeah. Yeah.
OU fans do have that to look forward to, though. Basketball season. I'm sure that'll really.
Who knows?
Well.
I mean,
yeah.
The whole team is new. Who knows if they're any good or not? They don't.
I do know the women's team will be good.
We're going to have Jenny Baranchik in studio for the family business tomorrow.
She's awesome,
and you're going to be covering her.
Yep.
This year.
Yep.
George covering women's basketball. Maybe
I
he'll
covered
shave
them last
for that.
year. Why are you giving me shit? I went to like 4 games last year.
4 games.
Oh man, killing the beat.
You just you just got like on a nickname level with everybody.
Big 12 championship in Norman. I covered the Big 12 championship.
You got to come in here tomorrow and like, hey JB, what's up?
She probably knows who I am. I've interviewed her more than anybody else in this office.
Which is how many times?
Now he's getting angry.
Once?
Now we're being
Once.
angry.
I went to 4 games last year. I went to media days on the last year as well.
Sitting in a press conference, you realize it's not interviewing someone. That's just asking a question.
Oh, well, then what's interviewing?
And a lot of people won't do that.
Then what's interviewing?
Like actually,
that's a sit-down interview. There's levels to this, Carey.
No, you're going to tell me.
Hey, wait a second. Wait a second.
I don't think you can call an interview or a question in a press conference as an interview.
Whatever.
Like that's not.
Whatever. You want me to throw the fire back at you, Carey?
Rattled right now.
How many Brent Venables press conferences have you made this year, Carey?
I pay you to go to them. All right. And you'd be homeless without me.
How many were you there? You made your first one yesterday.
Yeah, I'm here working. Preparing.
Oh, no. So Carey was there. Like Carey's there for the
we're
podcasting.
We're podcasting. We started without you.
Seth Luttrell gets fired and Carey rolls in. I see how this is, Carey.
No, we're just we're hazing George.
To be fair, yes,
I've done a lot of yelling this week. It's been a little bit liberating.
Yeah, I think we're all on edge.
I just yelled for about 15 minutes this morning about the offensive line.
I heard that, actually. I was listening.
And I
good.
don't know how much more we can yell about the offensive line. We did just hear the SEC teleconference of Brent Venables. I thought there were some interesting things out of that regarding Eddie Pierre-Louis.
Yeah.
And just the young offensive lineman, which we all know everybody out there is like, why can't they just try somebody? I mean, we've said it ourselves. Like, why not just bench the old guys? They're not working out and just go young. I'm sure it would be a disaster, but it would make everybody feel better. It's kind of like the Devon Mitchell thing. I saw, and I'm not ready to make fun of, I'm not trying to make fun of like YouTubers or anything, but you see like the YouTubers that are doing the kind of the clickbaity, like, this is why Joe John Finley has screwed up the tight end room, and it's a picture of like Devon Mitchell and Joe John Finley on his recruiting visit. I'm telling, Devon Mitchell is not the answer at tight end. I wish that they would play him just so everyone can see. I wish that they would.
To be clear, he's not the answer right now.
Not right now, no. But in the future, definitely could be.
But neither is Bauer Sharp or Jake Roberts. Like, that's the point that
they're more of the answer than Devon Mitchell is, though.
But I also just, like, Brent just talked about.
That's scary.
That's not much of an answer.
Brent just talked about Eddie Pierre-Louis and redshirting him. In today's college football world, like, the redshirt deal, I just don't think is as valuable anymore. And Josh, you could probably speak to that more, but it's just like, just play these guys. Like, none of them are gonna want to stay for 5 years anyways.
The Billy Bowmans and the Danny Such, like guys who are legit dudes that are going to make you a better team 3 years from now, they're not going to be there 3 years from now. Like, I just, it's not going to happen. Like, I just don't believe that, especially at marquee positions like offensive line. And in the NFL, tight end has become vastly more important than it often is in the college game. So, like, again, I don't know what he said. I won't pretend that I could hear it, guys. I know we were on a conference already. But I didn't hear the Eddie Pierre-Louis comments, but like I don't have any good explanation for why he's not getting time out there. Like, I don't understand.
And I don't think maybe we are calling for him to start, but I'm more so like, do what you did a couple years ago where they would do like the line shifts in the middle of games and just let him have a couple series. Like, I'm not calling for him to play every single snap. Like, just let the kid get some reps.
What did he say?
He basically said that first off, he was asked about the young offensive lineman, and he mentioned everybody by name, and he said he was pleased with the progress. He went down the entire list.
Yep.
I mean, he even brought in Isaiah Autry's name, which nobody's mentioned that name in forever. But specifically on Eddie Pierre-Louis, he said, he just got here this summer, and he keeps going back to that. I think anytime anybody brings him up, which means, to me, he's just not ready because he hasn't, physically, he's probably not where they want him to be, having a full off-season of strength training. And basically just saying, if we put him out there, it's not going to be good.
Yeah. I mean, I think that they would. I think that they're at the point, if they thought that it wouldn't get worse than what it already is, wouldn't they have already played?
Yeah.
Well, what I was screaming about this morning is it goes all the way back to the Tennessee game with the safety on Javonte Barnes, like guys just running free through the line, and like how much worse can it be than that? It really can't be much worse. I mean, 9 sacks given up against Jackson, or 8 against Jackson Arnold, 1 against Michael Hawkins over the weekend, but it will be just as bad, I think. You won't. Here's the problem: you're never going to consistently have a 12-play drive with this offense. You're just not. That offensive line is not capable of putting together a 12-play drive. You're either not going to block and you're going to get sacked, you're going to have a penalty, or you're just not good enough to open the holes or to protect long enough to pass the ball down the field.
They had a couple long drives that they did it end in touchdowns, but Brent mentioned it on Tuesday, right? They had like a 9, a 10, and an 11 maybe?
Something.
Or was there?
I'll have to.
But again, to me, I'm saying that's long drive ending in a touchdown. That's just not going to happen with this.
But isn't that like that's the overall theme? Is how sad it is that we're talking about that, of the idea of just throwing a freshman in there because how bad could it get? That's the point, and that's what I don't understand, and that's what makes me question everything that's going on with the offensive line right now. Like, can Bill just not communicate with these guys? It's never been this bad.
Future you faces some big expectations. Work out more, go to bed earlier, and most importantly, make smart money decisions. Thankfully, today you has Bank of America. One place with tools and guidance to help balance tasks from budgeting to saving. So you can just be you with big plans. Do more with a bank that asks, what would you like the power to do? Explore our tips and more at bankofamerica.com/futureyou.
I think
I'm dumbfounded by it.
Well, and it makes sense with the young guys, and I think, guys, we're seeing, Jake Taylor, it's hard to judge him because he's been hurt a lot this season, but Jacob Sexton not getting better, not progressing, not doing the things where you're like, okay, he's finally getting it. Like, he's getting worse, Josh.
Yeah, and guys, there is a part of me, and I don't know, one of my favorite sports movies is Moneyball, and Brad Pitt talking to Art Howe, and he asked him why he keeps playing Pena at first base, and he's like, I'm making decisions that I can defend when I have to do job interviews next winter.
Right.
That's kind of what this feels like. And I don't know anything. I'm not saying anything like that.
Oh, I said the same thing about Michael Hawkins and Jackson Arnold. Like, you were playing Michael Hawkins because he covered up the fact that the offensive line can't block, and it gave you a better chance to succeed and not get fired. But it didn't work. You got fired.
Yeah, because, I mean, again, like you said, guys, sure, is Eddie Pierre-Louis going to bust more than Fabechi Nwiwu? Sure. And I'm not saying, like George said, I'm not trying to say he should start. But, guys, at some point, they've got to start looking at 2025 and having some understanding. Because, sure, Eddie's not going to be, ready. But I keep hearing, he doesn't have experience. He doesn't play. How do you fix that? How do you, you're going to have to give them snaps. That's the only way they're going to learn. Guys, look back in the past when OU's great offensive line, they got forced into playing Drew Samia. They got forced into playing Orlando Brown. They got forced into all these guys that they weren't ready to play either, but they just didn't have any other choice, and they put them out there and they let them learn. We've watched Texas do the same with that group that now is experienced and really good, and sure, I know people are like, they got worked against Georgia. Yeah, but it's still a really good offensive line. Look at LSU. They threw a pair of freshman tackles out in the SEC a couple of years ago, and now they got a couple of first-round picks at tackle. So at some point, you're just going to have to accept this is going to be painful, but at least it's painful with a purpose rather than just painful and it's not taking you anywhere.
You know what's crazy, Josh, as you mentioned, those guys. I want to say 2015 OU Texas game, Baker was running for his life. Lincoln Riley was not trying to establish any type of run game. You had Derek Farniok and Josiah St. John as the starting tackles on that team. That was the game where Josiah St. John was tipping off pass or run with every play. And it was so bad. And, to me at that point, that was the lowest of the low for Bill Bedenbaugh. He had put out an offensive line that just stunk up the place. And he was forced, like you said, to go with Drew Samia and to go with Orlando Brown and to try these other guys, these young guys, the talent guy. That was a college football playoff team, Josh, by the end of the season. That was the team that lost to Clemson when Baker got the concussion late in the game, and it was a close game at halftime, and then Clemson just pulled away in the second half. But that was, at that point in time, was the lowest of the lows for Bill Bedenbaugh, and they still went to the college football playoff by playing young people. So where did that lesson get lost?
To me, that's the greatest mystery of this year. You knew what Bill's not stupid. He knows what offensive line looked like. He knew this group wasn't going to be good enough. Week one, we saw it when they pounded on Temple. They got those young guys out there as quick as they could, and it's Temple. We get it, but at no point have they tried to do anything more. Like George brought up in 22. They were running that hockey line where they were running out a whole different set of players. Why wouldn't that return this year when you clearly don't have the gap between starters and backups that you did then? I don't understand.
I thought it was pretty damning what Brent said about the offensive line situation yesterday at his press conference and just how they got to this spot. I mean, he basically said you can't build your offensive line through the transfer portal, and that's exactly what Oklahoma did.
They tried to do it, yeah.
Yeah.
You guys were there. Did it feel like, and I've said several times the last few weeks where I felt like Brent wouldn't call out the offense. Like, he was almost treating it like a defensive coordinator talking about the offense. I don't really talk about that. Like the I'm more disappointed in the defense after the Texas game, all that stuff. Like, it felt like he just turned a switch, was like, never mind. Like, I felt he was super blunt about what he saw on offense.
I mean, he said they were an abomination. That's
awesome.
probably never been uttered by the University of Oklahoma head coach about his offense coming out of the 6th game of the season. I mean, it's seventh. It's still a little surreal that they fired the offensive coordinator. Like, it's so far from, and it's such a drastic drop off from what it's been even over the last couple years, where people have had, quote unquote, problems with the offense. I'd kill for those problems right now.
Do you guys have any ounce of hope that it'll get better?
I have the lowest expectations. I don't think that I almost expect to be surprised because my expectations are so low.
I was thinking about this yesterday while we were out doing interviews, George. You were interviewing people. I was just taking photos.
Yeah.
I can admit what an interview is and is not, actually. I was out there, and I was thinking to myself, like, I can't remember. I mean, it's so sad. Like, I'm standing here getting ready to interview a group of players, and I think this is the first time, and I've hated the Blake comparisons, but it's the first time since the 90s where I think OU fans actually are getting ready to play a game where they think that they're going to lose.
Yeah, I told my dad that this is the first game that I can remember going and covering over the last 10, 11 years that I don't think that there's any chance. Like, there's no way that I can talk myself into thinking that Oklahoma can even keep it close, let alone win the game. It's crazy. Although I will say, I was talking to my buddies about this, and they have a saying of it's like feeling like Thursday or starting to feel like Thursday, where they go through the mental process of wiping away everything by Monday, and
Hope
then by
returns,
Thursday you're back and like, okay, maybe they can have a chance.
Yeah.
Maybe I have such low expectations. I'm starting to get to feels like Thursday.
See, I think that feeling has disappeared for me. Like, last week, I
don't think they're going to win.
No. But I don't even think. I think.
Oh, it's just completely voided.
Yes,
there is no feeling.
There is no feeling. Like, and that's what I keep. It's like, it's hit me a few times. It's like, how are we going to cover 5 more games of this? Like, what? Like, it's like I was thinking this during.
It's a rebirth.
The post game podcast. It's like, we have to do this 5 more times. Where it's
at least this is a rebirth, and you're not banging your head against the wall with what. Now, it could be very, very similar to what we've already seen.
That's what I'm interested in. Is are they going to just keep doing what they've been doing? Does it look different? And how much can you really change in this short amount of time? I don't know. But it's. I guess it's somewhat interesting what's going to happen on Saturday. But I think we all know what's coming.
The crazy thing is, you look at what the defense did this past weekend, they were pretty incredible for what the position that they were in.
Yeah.
Basically 21-0. They give up 265 yards.
I just feel like at some point they're going to break.
Yeah. And I think that you're obviously playing a really good offense this week, but defensively they played really well last week.
It was interesting talking to Danny last night about that. And before we get to that, Brent Venables talked about having a fresh perspective yesterday, Eddie. Kind of like we do each and every Unofficial 40 podcast. We have the Enjoy Fresh Perspective look around, which we're doing at the offensive line's detriment, I would say, today.
What if they just can't see?
Well, maybe that's what happened to Brent. Maybe that's why he's being so critical of the offense. Maybe he went to Enjoy, and he all of a sudden he's watching that all 22, and he's like, holy shit, this offense really is terrible.
Certainly would need the Valium they give you. Enjoy Vision is the best laser vision center in Oklahoma City. It's not even close. The combination of mind-blowing technology, experienced eyeball surgeons, and exceptional patient care was life-changing for me. All you got to do is go to enjoywithme.com. That is the letter NJOY withme.com, and use the promo code U40, $400 off LASIK. Just do it already. Enjoy Vision. This is where you LASIK.
And get drugs for surgery. Or it's not really surgery.
I mean, it would definitely make him
procedure.
feel better about things. Possibly. Danny had 16 tackles. I don't think I realized that. Like Saturday night.
We talked about that yesterday.
Did we? Okay. I blacked out. I think I've blacked out the
I was asking you if he was he should be one of the final 12 for the
for the Lombardi.
For the Lombardi, yeah.
He's having a hell of a season.
So, but yeah, I mean, here's the thing though. Danny was talking about holding the team together yesterday. I know George, you might have been the one asking him the questions, but it's pretty clear like this team needed something, and I think Brent Venables felt it. You ask why the timing, why fire Seth Luttrell now? I think he might have read a little bit of a breaking point there between the offense and the defense.
Yeah, I mean, I think he had to do it. Like there was no other option. We said it on the post-game podcast that we all agreed they had to do something. And I, when I was originally like, what does firing an OC do for you in the middle of the season? I didn't expect them to get blown out at home like they did. Like I think
go down immediately 21-0.
Like you are in danger of losing your locker room if you don't do something. I think because by this way you at least say, look, we're trying to fix this thing and try and get a spark in some sort of way to finish out this season. Now it's just a matter of can they win one game? Not, and I'm not talking about Maine. They're going to win Maine. I'm talking about one more SEC game and get to a bowl game. I don't know. Have we looked up if they went 5-7, if they would be one of those teams that qualify?
I haven't got there yet.
Seems like a very
we're in a
depressing
dark
thing
time,
to do,
but I have not looked there yet.
We probably should look into that. I don't know. How do they do that?
I think it's by either graduation rate or current EPA or GPA.
GPA? It's based on
I have no
grades?
idea. I have no idea. It might be graduation. I think it has something to do with graduation. And who cares, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I know that they would definitely take those practice days.
Oh, yeah.
Good Lord, yes.
Can they just practice?
We have 3 extra and not play the game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
COVID's coming back.
They should go play Oklahoma State. Just go play Bedlam in December.
I don't think either fan base needs that this year.
There's still an outside chance they could both play in the Liberty Bowl, which would just be almost kind of spectacularly beautiful.
I do not want to go to Memphis.
We're going to Memphis this weekend.
I know. I don't want to go.
It's going to be fun. We're going to do an armed robbery.
And our Eskridge Lexus official travel partner has just dropped out.
Not in the car.
Gentlemen.
We're gonna take a lift. Did you guys see the lift on campus?
Yes, I did see.
How does that happen? Does that not look like a sidewalk? Some unbelievable pictures, though.
I don't know where exactly. I know where it was, but I'm trying to picture it in my head. Like I don't remember that big
Evans
of a
Hall.
drop off right there.
Evans Hall. It's up by the actually by the building.
Yeah, North Oval.
Just right up the street.
It's
really,
crazy.
It's funny.
Good on you, Lyft drivers. Anyway, so man, I mean, I don't know. It's just so crazy how much we've broken down this offensive line because it's like we all keep saying it is. Clearly, the biggest problem
is the offense for 13, maybe a month. It's like basically, the defense played well, but they have no chance because it's an offense that is historically one of the worst.
Well, and it's hard to talk about the defense because you don't know how bad the offense is going to screw them. Like if the defense just had a chance, like let's say time of possession was split down the middle, and the offense kicks 3 field goals somehow. Maybe they get some turnovers. Who knows? They kick 3 field goals. How badly are they still getting beaten by Ole Miss?
I mean, the time of
24-9.
The time of possession was extremely close, even in the Texas game and the South Carolina game.
Well, guys, I don't know because there's a
away.
part of me that thinks if Oklahoma could have forced Lenora Sellers to throw the ball a little bit, I think there was some opportunity. Almost had a pick on the sideline.
Yeah.
The best chance they had was forcing South Carolina's offense to do anything. And I think the same was true against Tennessee. That's why people love to say, Josh Heupel will shut it down. I think we've all learned, as we all thought at the time, that was total bullshit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he knew, the best chance that team has of scoring is this defense hurting me, and I'm just not going to play that game. The only one who didn't get the memo is Hugh Freeze. Definitely not Gus Malzahn because he's not the head coach at Auburn.
Yeah, I could see that working in your brain, Josh.
Now that you said that, Josh.
I do. I have to pause. It's just in there, and I don't know why.
Now that you said that,
just
Josh.
flip them.
in my head right now, I'm going Deion Burks. We all have what we've discovered. It's not so much old man thing. It's just that we all have our things. Just like Eddie has Seibert. He has his things. I have
Who
mine.
is absolutely killing it.
He's doing great. I'm
with
so glad to see him playing
It's
so well.
unbelievable.
Just nailing everything, right?
Everything. He makes everything.
Yeah. Well, he's going to have to make some more because I don't know if he's going to have a quarterback this week.
That's crazy. Sucks.
You know what sucks is what happened to Baker.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Oh, my God. I mean, he lost basically his entire offense.
Sterling Shepard's going to have to be really, really good.
Maybe they can get Cooper Kupp.
It's out there.
The one thing
Sounds
they
like
got,
the Rams are definitely ready to do it.
One thing the Bucs have going for them though is that their division's not very good. They can still win their division. They got a big one on Sunday though.
They can run the ball too.
Yeah,
that offensive line's turned out to be pretty good.
Bucky Irving.
Yeah, he's really good.
He's really good.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I mean, hell, that what's the 44 guy? He's like a poor man's Nick Chubb that plays for Tampa Bay. Brackett or something like that. Bucket or Buckingham.
Dylan?
I just saw Dylan yesterday. That's why it came through my mind. Number 44 for the Bucs.
I have no idea who you're talking about.
He's from like Illinois. Sean Tucker.
Close to Buckingham.
I mean, Tucker.
Syracuse.
I knew. See. No, watch him, though. I really like him as a good young player. Anyway, glad to see Kyler won. It was weird that Kyler and Baker were kind of playing at the same time.
Yeah, that game sucked.
It wasn't a fun game, but
a bad football game.
Kyler,
cool run by Kyler.
Cool had a great run.
It was almost exactly like what he did in 2018 in the Texas game.
Yeah.
It was like the exact same play. He even put the ball out, how he turned the corner.
Yeah.
It was like the exact same.
You guys surprised at all by how Brent is handling the quarterback situation? Or I think we all agreed that it was going to be Jackson.
It needed to go back to Jackson, I think.
But I was maybe a little surprised. I thought maybe he would be like, oh, we're going to see how practice goes this week or something. But
he is just not messing around when it comes to the offense.
He's been very honest.
Somebody said this on the Crimson Corner about him kind of going after the offensive line on Tuesday. And I think that the one thing that you can say about this staff from top to bottom is they're pretty upfront and honest with what they think about these guys and just the transparency within the program. It doesn't seem like there's any secrets, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Which is so refreshing after, I mean, Bob was fine. He would try and hide stuff, but Lincoln was just a butthole.
Yeah, and maybe they were more honest behind closed doors. I don't know, but...
And maybe they'll be honest when things are going really well, and this is just his way of like, it's not going too well. I better not act like an ass.
No. Then again, with the offensive
everything.
line stuff, it's not exactly. I mean, everybody sees it every Saturday.
We all see
Can't really hide it.
No, I thought yesterday. I know there are people out there that are like, you got to ask him tougher questions. I think it's hard to sit and say that there's nothing that Brent hasn't addressed that you need him to address.
Yeah, and I think that there's also this code that people would just want us to sit in there and somebody ask Brent basically, the offensive line fucking sucks. What are you going to do about it? I don't think that's going to get a very good answer. Yeah. I'd just venture to guess.
It's like I had somebody say, like, you need to ask Brent if he thinks he deserves to still be the coach at Oklahoma. I'm like, why would I ask
That's
that?
not a question. That's an accusation.
Yes. Also, it's like there comes a point in time when you get like when you asked Josh Heupel if he feels like he's lost, coached his last game at Oklahoma. It's like, when you get to that point, and we are not at that point.
No.
Yeah.
There's 5 games left. It's crazy to wrap my head around that there's 5 games left this season.
Are you saying that that's a small number, or like there's so many games
There's
left?
a lot. Like that feels like a lot of games. Like it feels like we've lived a season.
I almost kind of feel like we're on the opposite side. I almost feel the opposite side, and it's like, damn, there are only 5 games left.
Can I tell you that I have heard from some donors this week, and what was interesting to me is I asked one guy, I said, how do you feel about Brent and the way things are going? And he said, not good. But there is so much concern on their end about keeping up with Texas and Texas A&M on the NIL front that they know they have to fix that first before they start talking about getting rid of a coach that they feel is underperforming right now. And I don't know how. I think we kind of know how the administration feels about it. They're like, fix the offense. I think, wouldn't you say, George, that that's pretty much the vibe you're getting is from the administration down? It's fix the offense, and then we'll reconvene. President, everything.
I think that it's
not like your job is up for review at the end of the year. It's just you had a new coordinator. It didn't work. Go get the right guy, because we believe in a lot of what you're doing.
Yeah, I think there's still belief in Brent. Not to say that it hasn't wavered in some fashion. I think that you'd be naive to think that there's not some of that. But from my understanding, it's more so, what can you do to try and maybe salvage some of this season, get to a bowl game, and then you've got a chance to go out and hire the absolute best offensive staff. And I say staff because I think that it's going to be more than just a coordinator, and see what you can do. And I think that there's also a belief that you can get better through the portal. And I don't think anybody's expecting them to all of a sudden, go from whatever they're ranked in, 130th to all of a sudden be a top 10 offense next year. But I think there's a lot of belief that they can get to top 50s in a lot of these categories, and that you can go get enough players in the portal, or if you can keep together this high school recruiting class, that you can get to that. And if you keep the defense as good as it's been, then you can win a lot of football games a year from now.
By the way, want to remind you guys, this Unofficial 40 is brought to you by Schwab Meat Company. And they are NIL sponsors. They like to do that stuff. They've got Danny Stutsman as one of their NIL spokespeople this year, along with Brock Martin up at Oklahoma State. Or not Brock Martin, Nick Martin. Brock Martin was the old Schwab's guy. But anyway, Schwab Meat's been smoking the highest quality smoked meats, hot dogs, and sausages in OKC since 1912. You can find Schwab products online at schwabmeat.com. And guess what? If you're go online, schwabmeat.com, make your order over $75 with the code SoonerScoop, you're going to get free shipping, which can save you a butt ton of money, because that dry ice shipping stuff is very expensive, as any of you who've done food online know. So free shipping on online orders over $75 just using that code SoonerScoop. Also, On Q, 7-Eleven, Love's Travel Stop, Roller Grills. You can find all of their products there in most Oklahoma grocery stores. So Schwab Meat, the official hot dog of game days, and the presenting sponsor of the Unofficial 40.
Just saw some sad news on the Twitter sphere. Looks like, I don't even remember what it. Bob and Mike Stoops' mother passed away.
Oh no!
Yeah, sad. Mike Stoops put out a statement on Twitter.
Wow.
Sorry.
I mean,
Sorry
no,
for
that's
bringing it down.
No, that's good to know. I mean, obviously she was very big part of their lives and coaching careers, and the greatest story was that somebody had told me. Here's I'll go back to the. I'll read that. Here's from a statement from Mike Stoops. My family's hearts are especially heavy today as my mom, Evelyn D.D. Stoops, has been reunited with her Lord and Savior, and my dad, Ron Stoops Sr. She was a faithful Catholic, a spiritual leader, and a joyful Irish lady. She was also the best cheerleader and motivator. She was the heart of our family and a constant inspiration to all of us. We are blessed with a multitude of wonderful memories and so appreciative to all of you keeping all of us, my brothers, sisters, and their families in your thoughts and prayers. We love you always, Mom. So, yeah, our thoughts and prayers and well wishes, condolences out to the Stoops family, Bob and Mike, who we have all gotten to know well throughout the years. So,
good picture of the family.
Yeah, Evelyn Stoops, mother of the of Bob, Mike, and Mark, and Ron, grandmother of Isaac and Drake, and Mackie has passed away. All right, I tell you what, let's Josh, I wanted to ask you, Brent Venables had his press conference yesterday. He was asked specifically about what his message is to the recruiting class. What did you think about what he had to say there?
I thought it was good. I think it's one of those things where it's what you want kids to feel. You want them to say, hey, I'm going to Oklahoma because I believe in it. And I think in a lot of these kids' cases, that adds up. Like you talk to Elijah Thomas or Kevin Sperry or some of these other guys, there was no blinking. There was no, I don't know, I got to talk it over with my folks, or, I want to see what else is out there. And guys, I was talking to a couple of reporters at schools that Oklahoma recruits against frequently, and make no mistake, these guys' phones are ringing like crazy right now. Everybody is trying to work OU's commitments. I mean, because OU's never had to deal with this, guys, and that was what I was telling them about. Like, I've never had to deal with a midseason firing, and it's the same as true of Oklahoma. They've never had to go through these moves, and Texas A&M's like, oh yeah, we know how this goes. We know what to do here. So it's different, and there are a lot of guys, a lot of talent. We've talked about Oklahoma's class for over a year now. It's a really good group that has a lot of players that other schools would love to have. So you've got guys where their phones are ringing. Other schools are saying, hey, just come take a look and all those kind of things. And, we discussed it. Cortland Guillory took a visit to Texas last week. So, that, there is clearly some momentum in that direction. But, yeah, the thing with they don't commit to coaches, blah, 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 we all know. Eddie, you were there with me with Michael Fasusi.
Yep.
What did he say? I want to play for the best offensive line coach in the country. Like, that was his exact quote, and it was obviously a huge part of his decision. If that changes, maybe Brent's right. I kind of doubt it.
It's incredible the situation that they're going to find themselves in that offensive line particularly, because that's obviously one of the worst units, maybe in the SEC, by the way, which is just insane to think about. But then you do talk about Eddie Pierre-Louis. You do talk about Daniel Akinkumi or Eugene Brooks, and then obviously the class that they're bringing in.
Heath Ozida.
I don't know what you do. Is it a coaching problem right now? Or is it just terrible evaluations? But then you start talking about the evaluations over the last however many years, going back to 2021, 22. And I don't know. Like, is Fasusi and Foje, they look great. Can he develop them?
Is this, I thought
Which is a ridiculous question that I find myself even having to answer.
Am I crazy, or did Brent kind of go into, developing lines, while guys are in high school and coming up yesterday? Did he talk about that?
Yeah, well,
that was interesting because he was basically saying the transfer portal hadn't worked for us. And it hasn't built a line that has chemistry and plays well together.
The question is what's tough about building a line through the portal, basically. Yeah. And I think it's right. And Andy Staples wrote about it, a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. Texas has done it through, they've gotten, I think, some, but I think all 5 guys that started against OU and the starting 5 that they have right now, they're all developed. Kyle Flood's done a very good job.
There's no question. And you can track a lot of these guys back, but guys, even you look in their 2 deep. I'm looking at their 2 deep right now, and as I look even into their 3, I don't think they have a guy in their top 5 or top 15 that is a portal guy at Texas.
That's
and again,
crazy.
I'm not saying you can only do it that way. There's certainly room. Like Walter Rouse last year. That made all the sense in the world, and it worked out really well for Oklahoma. That's fine. But you can't have all 5 guys. You can't. To me, if you've got more than 2,
that works out.
The odds are it's yes. But if you're going to go that route, I'd rather go chase the high upside guys. And OU has a perfect success story. Tyler Guyton. Go get a big, long, athletic guy and let him develop, because that's what OU's program should be. Again, and I know we'll get into some of the offensive coordinator talk and the stuff that's going around there. I keep seeing people like, oh, they got to go get Georgia's guy. Guys, OU doesn't recruit like Georgia. They just don't. They probably never will. To some degree, you have to have a developmental aspect about your program. So expecting these guys to be plug and play, and we've got 4 other All-American level talents around them. That's just not realistic. There has to be some cohesion and some, watching these guys grow up together, and that's why that group from 2016 to 2018 is one of the best offensive lines we've ever seen Oklahoma have. They grew up together.
Let me throw this out there, too. Like, how about this hypothesis or theory? You're getting a transfer portal guy. He's left and he's become somewhat disgruntled where he was before. And he's been like, okay, this isn't the place for me. I need to go somewhere else. Is that guy and that personality really who you want to mate with Bill Bedenbaugh, who is like Gabe Eichert, guys that played for him that did well, love him, will defend him to the death. You know this, Josh. They love Bill Bedenbaugh.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
The guys that can't handle the hard coaching, they fall to the wayside, and you really don't hear a lot about him. I saw somebody trying to make it out like Savion Byrd was some star at SMU this year because of their record. He's barely playing from what I remember.
Also, let's also be clear that in the transfer portal, there's not a ton of quality offensive linemen that are coming through. Like, sure, they missed on a couple guys, but like Lance Hurd was like the guy. He's not performing exactly particularly well for Tennessee right now. So like this idea that it was just, they missed on guys in the portal. No. There
were no guys in the portal.
Right. They missed on guys a year ago, 2 years ago in recruiting classes. It's not about just missing dudes in the portal. It's about missing guys in high school recruiting more than anything.
Well, and let's face it, Josh. I mean, Texas was very proactive in going out there. What was it, the Pancake Factory or whatever they call it, their NIL?
Mm-hmm.
They geared it towards signing offensive linemen because they knew how important it would be.
Yep.
OU kind of did that on the defensive line, but we were talking about that not too long ago. The offensive line, Bill wasn't on board with a lot of that stuff then.
100%. And guys, I think there is also, for lack of a better way to say it, there's been some poor marketing. If I'm Oklahoma and I'm trying to recruit offensive linemen, I am spamming the shit out of social media with everything. Look at Bill Bedenbaugh's track record. Look at Anton Harrison. Look at Tyler Guyton. Look at Ben Powers. Look at Drew Samia. Look at Orlando Brown. Creed Hunt. That would be every day. I am going to beat you over the head with it. Just like in coaching, I believe I've heard Bill Bedenbaugh talk about this, where he says, you have to repeat the same thing over and over and over because these are young guys that don't get it. It's the same deal in recruiting. You have to club them over the head before they recognize something. It's why we watched for a decade these incredibly talented offensive linemen go to Texas and do nothing because they weren't being well coached, but it was Texas. And, Texas is great. They've got to be good, right? I'm really talented. That'll work out. So, OU got all these secondary options that are now making hundreds of millions of dollars in the NFL while all those Texas guys are somewhere pumping gas. Like, that's the kind of deal. I feel like some of it is NIL, some of it, and again, the marketing thing, that's partially Bill too. Like, he's got to know you've got to just constantly, and I get it. You don't want to be like, look how great I am all the time. Like, I understand. Like, that's certainly not within his personality type. We all know that. But at the same time, OU's got to stop being so humble about it. Todd Bates, same deal. Todd, just all the time, look at all these NFL defensive linemen Todd Bates has been a part of. Like, Oklahoma seems like sometimes they want to be so humble. And I'm like, guys, you got to do stuff. You got to put yourself out there to make sure these guys know what the score really is.
Want to remind you guys, all throughout Oklahoma, Academy Sports and Outdoors has all the gear that you need from top brands, all at prices that you'll love. And now shopping at Academy is more convenient than ever. They offer free assembly on in-store purchases of most bikes and grills, plus free and easy 1-hour curbside pickup on academy.com orders. If you want to save even more every day, open up and use an Academy Sports and Outdoors credit card to get 5% off future purchases when you are approved. So save time and money at Academy Sports and Outdoors, and go have some fun out there. Go to Academy Sports and Outdoors. All right. I think we've exhausted the week on offensive line. We probably ought to just put a pin in it because we could probably – I don't know how much further we can drill down.
Well, that's why I keep saying we got 5 more games to do this.
Yeah, I know. And I really think the thing going forward is just watch how many young guys get involved. I mean, and maybe that starts this weekend. Who knows? But I would say that's probably what we'll just keep banging the drum about is playing more young guys.
Yeah. I want to see Jackson, or if Michael gets back into the game, development at that position too, because I get it. Look, a lot of times there's nothing to be done because the offensive line is so bad, but that doesn't mean that there isn't improvement to be made at the quarterback position, because Jackson's not seeing things quick enough. He's not getting the ball out quick enough. Michael clearly was too timid against Texas, and then was too loose with the ball against South Carolina in those 9 plays. So that's another thing, is like, can Kevin Johns help these guys maybe see things a little bit differently? Can they do something offensively where you have a bad offensive line? Can you get the ball out quick? Can you? I think they're going to go back to more RPO stuff. They've gotten really far away from the RPO game the last couple weeks. I wonder if they go back to that, considering that was very heavy in the Jeff Lebby offense, and now Joe John's taken over. Wouldn't shock me if we saw more of that. So I'm interested in that. I mean, look, there's a lot. I mean, we talk a lot about the offensive line. That's the heart of the issue, but there's still a lot of other positions that you want to see guys, start to get better.
Josh, what I asked George yesterday on the practice report, what is realistic that Kevin Johns can come into that quarterback room and do? I mean, everything can't be cleaned up, I would think. Mm-hmm. Is it just an acting thing? I don't know.
Yeah, to me, I think it's a simplification, guys. Like I think I don't know about you guys. I hear some talk that some of the RPO stuff could return, like in some form or fashion. I think that's absolutely in the cards. Now, and I know everybody hates it. I don't love RPO. I don't love what it does to offensive linemen. I mean, we know what I want those guys to do. I want them to just come out and block.
And I hate linemen down the field penalties so much.
Oh God, guys, and. I mean, guys, it's got, and I highlighted one of these in MMI. Sorry, Carey, I'll be quick about this aside, but like there was a play where it's a throw behind the line of scrimmage. You can go out there and kick ass and do whatever you want to do, and OU's offensive lineman, Heath Ozaida's the only one that's playing with any speed, any aggression, and everybody else is kind of catching blocks. I'm like, they don't have to do that. That's behind the line. It doesn't matter. And there's still this hesitation. Like, I think it just permeates everything, but that's a whole nother thing. But again, I wouldn't care if they call 8 plays from 3 or 4 different formations and that's all they do. Try to be good at a few things and see what you can do from there. You're not going to confuse Ole Miss. You're not going to do anything like that. They're an experienced defense that is going to kick your ass up front. Do what you can do. Run wide as often as you possibly can, because Walter Nolan and Pegues are going to murder you in the middle.
I will say this, what I noticed about Jackson coming back into the game is he's a little bit beyond Michael Hawkins in terms of knowing what it's like to go out there and play when you have no fucking time to throw the football. Whereas I think Michael Hawkins is still learning how to operate in that environment or that space. Like getting rid of the ball, the first play of the game, I was just like, okay, I don't have protection. I see a receiver, and he didn't see the guy playing under the route.
It's like showing his little brother how to get the ball over the oldest brother playing basketball out in the front yard. Like, no, you got to take a step back. He'll bite on it.
Yeah.
And then you go.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a little bit unfair because I think Jackson's been through more turmoil, whereas Michael Hawkins, they tried to design a game plan around him to just not be in the pocket, to not have to stand back there and get rid of the ball and get to your third read, where I do have a little hope that that Jackson Arnold can operate, because he did seem to be more decisive in his decision making against South Carolina than we saw him earlier. Of course, last time you saw him was Tennessee, which was just awful. But it will be. I mean, it will be interesting if Kevin Johns kind of I know Brent said yesterday like his office was right next to everybody else's and they could all meet together, but there's a big difference between knowing that you're not an assistant coach versus being a guy that's a co-coordinator, and how much you're willing to input or say or interject yourself in someone's coaching. So I'm curious to see if that benefits Jackson or Michael at all.
Well, and you look at the staff, and Kevin Johns has more experience as a coach and obviously a coordinator and a quarterback's coach than anybody else on staff.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been all over the place, Indiana, Duke. Like he's coached under some good coaches and has had some really good success. So, again, I don't think that means that he can just totally turn this offense around in the final 5 games, but you would think he could give at least some good insight to those guys at the quarterback position.
It's definitely going to have to be a collaborative effort.
Yeah,
it seems.
And it's talk about a tough position for these assistant coaches. I mean, none of them really know if they have jobs next year. And so they're, in a lot of ways, maybe dead men walking. So that's not to say they're not going to.
To a certain sense, it's a great opportunity too, though.
Maybe. What do you mean?
I mean, if they're able to get this thing to look somewhat good or better than what it's been, they're going to be at least given a little bit of praise, won't they?
They'll be given praise, but will they have their jobs? I don't know.
Who cares?
As long as families care.
As long as they can fix it now. Yeah, that's not what I mean. But I'm just talking about in terms of football. In terms of football.
We were out there yesterday talking to Javonte Barnes, and everybody was asking him about, the players and how they're handling it. And I almost wanted to be like, hey, do you guys as players ever realize that your coaches are shitting bricks too right now because they might not have a job after this year? It goes both ways. It's just interesting.
I think, and we've talked about it before, but just kind of seeing the maturation, truly the maturation of seeing somebody like a Javonte Barnes that comes in now and is probably seen as one of the loudest voices on the offensive side of the ball has been pretty cool. I really like talking to him.
Yeah, and he said that yesterday. He's not good at being a motivational guy. But
he's really never been that guy, and he's kind of come out of his shell, I guess,
in
front of the media at least.
He said cool he's trying to lead more. He's trying to be 100%. An example for other guys.
It's crazy. He's a guy we were talking about last year entering the portal.
I know, which is kind of makes it even a better story just in a way, because I think a lot of times nowadays you see somebody go through what he went through a year ago. They hit the portal. Never hear from them.
You sons of bitches are giving me hope right now, and I don't like it.
It feels like Thursday.
You're giving me hope because I'm sitting there thinking. I'm also thinking Javonte Barnes coming along, and what happens when Jalil Farouk comes back, and if this offensive line somehow just becomes capable, and holy shit, Jackson Arnold,
you're mistaking us.
Oh my God, are they going to the playoffs? What's happening right now?
No, they're not going to the playoffs. They're not.
If it brings you any levity, Carey, or I guess brings you back down, I am currently searching what the parameters are for a 5-win team to make a bowl. So that's more Maine. Just look forward to Maine. You got Maine still out there, which
you're mistaking us.
I'm still scared to count on anything.
You're mistaking us liking Javonte Barnes for saying I don't think any of us think he's some great running back either.
No, I'm just saying, after talking
he's a great number
to him,
2.
It's they're not just going to fold the season.
No, and I think hearing from Brent, now Tuesday was much more of a somber Brent, but listening to Brent on his Monday night show, you buy back in. It's anytime he speaks, you're kind of okay, he gets it. The hope seeks back in when he speaks.
I want to say Eddie Radosevich for the win. Teams in their second year of reclassification from FCS to FBS can make a bowl with 5 wins. Also, teams with at least 5 wins, no more than 7 losses, from there in order of their academic progress rates.
APR.
So yes, yep.
That's crazy.
That will help. Mm-hmm,
Owen Heineke.
Welcome to college football.
Thanks, Owen Heineke.
He's a 4.0, right?
4.0.
Captain.
Thank you, Owen. Might get OU to a bowl game because you're going to class.
That would be huge for this. I know people will mock it, but that really could be
they need to practice every day
for this team.
They need to practice on Saturday and Sunday.
So
during
where
the
do you
summer.
look up where are they in the APR thing? How do you know where they're at? Is there a way to find that?
A couple weeks to look that up. I think that's
we're not going to have to bother, guys, because Jacob Jordan is saving this team.
Fun story, at least, I guess. I don't know.
You crapping on Jacob Jordan now?
No, not at all. I thought he was great.
He was awesome. I wasn't over there yesterday. Were one of you over
Bob
there
was.
with him?
I watched it
I was
back.
over there, too.
It's a fun conversation. I mean, he literally didn't expect to play Saturday, and he comes in and leads the team in receptions. He's a walk-on.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of an indictment on the rest of the room.
Sure, but it's a great story for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, how do you guys take that? He's the first guy they've put out there in weeks that didn't look like a deer in headlight. Maybe other than Zion Kearney. I think Zion Kearney
He's
shown
done some good
decent
things,
little
yeah.
moments.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But the fact
with
that Reagan's
exception,
has been out there so much and has barely made an impact.
It's whatever.
Petaway is
Give me more Jacob Jordan. I'm dead serious.
Non-existent.
Let
Well, I
him
think what
start.
Josh is saying is this an indictment on Emmett Jones a little bit.
I mean, I don't think so. Anything that happens at the wide receiver position this year, it just seems so incomplete because none of these guys, like,
you haven't seen
it was Raggins
Deion
that
Burks. You haven't
he
seen
literally
Nick
told you
Anderson.
he expected to redshirt, didn't he, Josh?
Yo, 100%. And again, I think it's more about the player. There's very little I'm grading Emmett Jones on this year. Like, I don't know how you recover from what that room has had to deal with.
Yeah.
Sure.
But the fact that everybody else, I mean, guys in a lot of ways kind of pissed down their legs. And Jacob Jordan, his first real action, he puts almost 100 yards up, like against a pretty good South Carolina defense. I don't know. Like I'm either he's a lot better than even I thought he might be. And I watched him as a senior. I thought he was a guy that 2 years down the road might have a role for Oklahoma.
Here's what I want to know.
Didn't think it now.
Here's what I want to know. How many more number one reps is he getting with Jackson Arnold this week? Like that's where I think
should be a lot.
It determines how big of an impact he could have this week.
And I think it's somewhat.
I have zero problems with him starting.
Yeah, neither do I.
No, I don't either.
It probably somewhat depends too on Deion Burks' availability.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I mean, I think Emmett Jones has done a good job with guys like J.J. Hester, but he's been in position to make plays and he hasn't made them at times, and that's not on Emmett Jones. That's what we've seen out of J.J. Hester when he's gotten opportunities. It's kind of like Jaden Gibson. He couldn't catch a ball early in his career, and then all of a sudden he became solid. And then he got hurt, and now he's gone. But
he's not gone.
Well, he's for the year.
Gone for the year. People will hear that and be like, oh, he entered the transfer portal.
I know. He's still here. So, but the Reagan's thing has been a disappointment because he's gotten a lot of snaps, and it just hasn't. You haven't seen the progression there. But yeah, I mean, Jacob Jordan. What else do you have to hang your hat on that you've seen
offensively?
Yeah, from the receiver position.
Oh God!
Since the guys have been hurt,
I still think Brennan Thompson's not a great player, but he's played well. He's open too, and they
he's
just
made
can't
plays.
get him the ball. Yeah.
Well, the thing about Brennan Thompson is he's made his biggest impact doing things that we didn't think he was not capable, but didn't think were his strengths, which is making yards after the catch. We thought he was going to be a guy that would just be streaking down the field all the time with the speed, like we saw in the Alamo Bowl. We haven't seen any of that from him this year.
With Thompson?
Yeah.
I mean, he has been. They just haven't been getting him the ball. He was running wide open on the first play of the game. But Hawkins doesn't have enough time to get him the ball.
Yeah. Could you guys tell me, how about this? Who has the most snaps at wide receiver this year for Oklahoma?
Ooh.
This is a pretty easy one, I think.
I mean, it's got to be
Thompson?
Yes, Thompson.
Is it still Burks?
No, it's
Thompson.
Brennan Thompson.
Yeah, okay.
Who's number 2? This is where it gets hard.
Hester.
No.
Kearney?
Is it Reagan's?
It's Reagan's. Zion Reagan's.
Oh. How many
229 snaps.
How many receptions does he have?
That's a great question. I got to look that up.
I would guess it's less.
Can't be more than 10.
I was going to say less than 15 for sure.
That's incredible.
I would say it's more like 5.
I bet.
Well, he's got catches you forget. Like I forget about the
5
one he had last
receptions.
week.
He has 5 receptions
for 40 yards. 5 receptions, 40 yards.
What's he doing out there?
Yeah. 229 snaps.
And this is a question I think that will only be answered come Saturday, but is he out there and are they just not using him correctly, Josh?
Again, guys, we've talked about it. Like if you're going to put him out there, why you've got him catching little quick stuff underneath or bubbles or what, like
when he's so tiny.
He is so tiny. If you're gonna like do something with him or force the ball to him, let him run a jet sweep. Let him get his speed going in one direction. Like nobody's gonna run with that dude.
That's amazing to me.
5 receptions,
amazing,
40 yards. I had to look it up just to make sure that.
And he's had 229 snaps?
229 snaps, second most on the team at wide receiver.
Who's third?
Deion Burks, 221.
Okay.
He was playing every snap before he got hurt.
But what's the catching yardage for Hester?
Well, I can tell you how many snaps he played. I'll have to Google his.
I mean, I've got a computer. I guess.
Guys, if you had to guess who'd played Oklahoma's most snaps on the offensive roster this year, who would you guess?
Well,
Howard Sharp?
I'm looking at it. Are you talking about on the entire? I mean, it's
the entire
offense.
Oh, yeah. Sexton?
Well, no, it's. I mean, Wee Woo's played every snap.
Wee Woo. Okay.
Right.
That's. I don't understand.
JJ Hester's played 193 snaps.
Hold
on, I'm looking up his stats.
That's unbelievable to me.
JJ Hester, 193 snaps, 8 receptions, 134 yards.
It's better than Reagan's.
Barely.
According to PFF, OU has 2 players that have scored above 70 points this year on average. Deion Burks and Jalil Farouk, who played a half of a football game.
Jalil Farouk played, 9 snaps this year?
Yeah, something like that, because it was first possession.
He's played 7 snaps.
Second possession. I think it was second possession.
Jesus. Wow. I mean, there's Jacob Jordan. You're up, man.
I told somebody the other day, it's like every day there's a new stat that represents how bad this offense is.
Oh,
and
God.
every time it gets me, and I'm like, holy shit, how is it this?
Oh, my God.
Is KJ Daniels hurt? That's the only true freshman receiver we haven't seen.
He's one of those guys
that.
I don't even see really. I don't,
I can't even tell you his
it never
number.
comes across during even pregame.
I just am assuming every player on the team has a quad injury that's not playing.
It's crazy, man. I don't understand. They legitimately have to look at what they're doing and why these injuries are continuing to occur.
Especially the quad. It's like everybody
has a quad.
So if you gave Jacob Jordan Zion Raggins snaps for the year, just if he kept the pace he showed against South Carolina, he'd have 30 catches for 430 yards.
I think
Raggins has 5 for, would you say 40?
Yeah. Jacob Jordan played a lot the other day, 47 snaps in the game. I bet he plays a ton this week.
And what do you have, 3 catches? 4?
It's 4 for 86 or something.
He led the team in yardage, I know.
Something like that.
6 for 86.
6 for 86.
He had 6 catches.
He already has more than Zion Reagan's.
He has more than Zion Reagan's.
It's amazing. It really is amazing.
Well,
holy shit.
The only 2 players, there's 3 players averaging more yards per catch than Jacob Jordan had the other day, which is 14.3, which is a good number, not crazy. JJ Hester at 16.8, Jaquez Petaway at 17.4, and Jalil Farouk at 47.
Where's Jaquez Petaway?
I think we've determined that he just isn't.
I don't think it's that he's not good. I think he athletically has the talent. Yeah. I think he genuinely doesn't know what he's supposed to be doing.
Where he's going to be when they throw the ball.
Yes.
And again, I broke it down on one of the idiot against Auburn when they throw in that tunnel screen and he runs outside. Yeah. There was yardage inside and he ran away from it. And you're just but at some point, again, jet sweep guy, Jaquez Petaway, give him the ball. What's he going to mess up? Just go in motion, buddy. That's all you got to do, and then run as fast as you can. Jaquez is more than capable of making a play once the ball is in his hands.
Let's just put a team of white walk-ons out there. Be like White Walkers. And see what happens. Eli Merck, you're up. Major Melson, it's your time to shine. Trey Brown. Christ Presbyterian Academy wants you out there.
Is this why you wanted me to take that flag down to Oxford this weekend? I haven't opened the box yet. What's in it?
No comment. Anyway, they'd probably be celebrated in Oxford.
I'm excited. I am like genuinely excited about seeing Oxford. It's one of the places that I've been wanting to go for a while. I'll never forgive myself for not going there in like my freshman year of college.
We had a very interesting discussion in the office about going to Oxford. I said, I want to go. And these two were like, why? I'm going to take down their cool factor, Josh, if old man goes out on the road with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at least you recognize what's going on here.
Yeah.
I am getting that way with my 10-year-old. Like I'm literally minutes away from Dad. Can you drop me around the corner? Like that's absolutely coming in my future. She thinks she is cool as hell. So,
oh boy,
it's great.
Yeah,
hold on to it as long as you can.
That's a fact. That it's sad. Like I used to laugh at the dads. Are like it goes by so fast, and now I'm like, damn it, I'm right there with them. Like I'd lecture a dad of a 1-year-old right now. Enjoy it while you can.
Josh, recruiting wise, I know you've caught up with more people since, including Michael Fasusi. Had some updates that people can get a hold of if they're subscribers, which you should always be a subscriber to Soonerscoop.com. You get all the news latest before we blurt stuff out here on the pod. But anything that's really stood out to you about talking to guys? Any breaks? Any concerns that have popped up? Like, okay, I'm really starting to see something that might be a negative here.
So far, not really. Again, some of the comments, and I won't go through all the guys that said it. You should be signed up to Sooner Scoop and go read these things. There have been a few guys who are like, man, I love my position coach. Insert name here. And you're like, oh, okay, we'll see what happens with, again, we don't know. I'm not trying to claim that I know and these kids don't or anything like that. It's up in the air right now. And so what the response is going to be when I think what we all expect to happen, which is more changes, how guys respond to that. I think it's going to be really interesting to follow. I will say I talked to, I mentioned earlier, talking to a couple of sources, at programs that recruit against Oklahoma all the time, at Texas A&M, a couple others. And I don't get the vibe that there's a lot of optimism about, Michael Fasusi or Ryan Foje or some of the names that you would think those schools would target. I kind of think that Oklahoma maybe could hang on to Ryan Foje. Like there's a part of me that thinks he is just bought in. He believes in the program. He believes in what Oklahoma is. They were the first to offer him. I think that means a lot to him. So I maybe they could weather that storm. Michael Fasusi, that's going to turn into the Wild West if something happens there. And I don't mean that against Michael. I just know everybody and their mother is going to throw everything they can at him. What may be helping Oklahoma in that situation is that one of the schools most ready to make a move for him would be Texas A&M. But Texas A&M's heavy on Lamont Rogers right now. And I don't know if they want to mess up the momentum they feel like they have with Lamont Rogers by going after Michael Fasusi, who those two communicate a lot. It would be obvious to Lamont if a move was made there that he, Mike would know about it, Lamont would know about it. So we'd have to watch that a little bit. But again, I like what I like their position, but obviously we know there's, potential speed bumps down the road.
All right. Well, I think that's good for today. Eddie's got to get over to basketball. I know you want him to say hello to Ebby Ara and
Final book.
Mm-hmm.
Where is it this year?
San Antonio?
San Antonio.
Ooh, I'll pay for that.
Tampa.
I
love San.
Just go to basketball.
I told you guys how much I love.
Just go to basketball, please. Thank you.
I love San Antonio.
Yeah, you had real pleasure there back in December.
Favorite city in the country.
San Antonio in the winter, Eddie's favorite place.
It's my favorite city in the country, and that's why I'm so dismayed that it's currently being taken over by Venezuelans, as I learned on Fox News last night. We'll talk to you next week.
You got to get one last one in.
Any big college football games?
Ohio. I don't even want to know what he just shouted.
Neither do I. Any big college football games you guys are watching this weekend, other than Oklahoma, Ole Miss?
Yeah, I mean,
I think Texas A&M and LSU is really interesting.
Yeah, that's a great matchup. Notre Dame and Army, is that Notre Dame and Army? Are they playing this weekend? I'm trying to pull up the schedule here.
Yes, Notre Dame and Army. Notre Dame
Navy.
and Navy. I'm sorry, and yes, I will be all over Navy in that one as a guy with a family of Navy people.
Rutgers, USC. Penn State, Wisconsin. Does that do anything for you?
God, talk about the ultimate.
Tawi Walker's going to take over the Crimson Corner if Wisconsin pulls off that win.
This is not a. It's not a.
Boise State and UNLV Friday night.
Are you two getting along on the Tawi Walker situation? You and George, is it okay or is it hostile?
He's been great.
He'd be the best running back for this offensive line.
Yeah.
I can tell you that right now. I have no druthers in admitting that. Friday night is really interesting because you got Boise UNLV, which they have Marion, I would say the people's choice for next offensive coordinator because people are just it's not happening. I don't think it's happening. I would say 10%, but that's a bad percentage to put on anything apparently. Rutgers and USC Friday night as well.
So that's Friday night.
Yeah, that's Friday night.
Oh,
you guys better get.
Wow.
It's not.
I thought it was.
No, that's on Fox on Friday night.
Oh, I'll watch that.
And that is that a 10:00 start? I don't know if these times are Eastern or
Ohio
Central.
State is a 25.5-point favorite over Nebraska. That seems like a lot.
By the way, USC is a 14-point favorite.
I mean, did you see what Indiana did to Nebraska?
I know,
that was a massacre.
I know. But I also am just not a huge believer in Ohio State just yet.
I don't. The Will
Howard.
Going blank on his last name.
Will Howard.
Yeah, I never understood this fact. Like, they're a super team. I mean, they've got a lot of great guys on that defense, but the offense has got everything you'd need except an offensive line and a quarterback.
How about Oregon, Illinois? 21.5.
That's an underrated game.
I think Illinois could hang in there.
Mm-hmm.
Brett Bielema is a damn good football coach.
I might bet Illinois in that one.
UCF is a 1.5-point favorite over BYU, which I know we're no longer supposed to care about the Big 12.
I was asking Eddie this, though. One, I don't believe in BYU. But two, who the hell is going to win the Big 12? There's like 4 teams.
Iowa State, probably.
I think K-State still is really good. Kansas State is, I think, my
Farmageddon's going to be awesome this year. I can't wait to watch that K-State Iowa State game.
I don't think they play, do they?
They've already played.
I think they do.
Iowa State?
No, Kansas State.
Iowa
State.
Iowa State. Yeah. Farmageddon. Okay.
I thought they didn't play this year.
November 30th. They play last game of the year. They might play back-to-back.
Is it oh wow, I didn't think that. But isn't it, aren't they playing Farmageddon in like Ireland next year or something?
Oh, really? I don't know if I knew that.
I want to say Kansas State is playing in Ireland.
And see, this is what sucks about the offense sucking. Like, normally, OU fans would be glued to their television set to see Missouri and Alabama play. Two future opponents. You got one at home. You got one on the road.
2025 season, K-State, Iowa State open the year in Ireland.
Can we just watch Ryan Williams and Luther Burden play one-on-one and skip the rest? Like, just watch those guys play, outrun each other, play tag for 4 quarters?
Who's going to win the SEC? Georgia? We all agree on that?
Yeah.
Who are they going to play?
I know Milroe just keeps regressing, it seems like.
Who are they going to play in the game? Texas?
It's probably going to be Texas. Texas just doesn't have anything.
I think Texas A&M is going to beat Texas.
Left.
I think Texas A&M is going to beat
What about
Texas.
LSU? If LSU wins this weekend, I think that they have a chance to.
They do, yeah.
Guys, after that South Carolina game, I kind of thought, you might could sneak LSU. They might get in there and do something, but now you're like, no, they're starting to play really good football.
Are you talking about USC?
No. Yeah. Well, no, because LSU should have lost to South Carolina. They should have lost that game. Yeah. But like after that, and really in that game is when they found Caden Durham, and as soon as they had a run game, it's changed everything for them.
How about this? The winner of LSU A&M this weekend is the team that plays Georgia for the SEC title.
I mean, the winner controls their destiny, don't they?
Pretty much.
To the championship game. Mm-hmm. I mean, what Elko's done at A&M so far has been pretty impressive. Now, their biggest wins over Missouri, who I think is a fraudulent football team. They should have lost to Auburn.
And they lost to Notre Dame.
That's the one thing is everybody's like, OU's the worst team in the SEC. Auburn is horrific. They find new ways to lose every single week. Mississippi State is also
if
not
they
good.
would stop killing themselves, I think Auburn's a decent football team. But
Yes.
they cannot stop. I mean, like what you see OU do with like, oh, the stupid penalty here. Like they murder themselves on national TV every week.
Texas Vanderbilt, any chance of an upset there?
I mean, Vanderbilt's playing good football, but no, I think Texas is really damn good. I know that they kind of got their ass kicked by Georgia, but I think Georgia's the best team in the country. So, there's no shame in that.
The scary part is Carson Beck didn't even play that well, and Georgia owned. I mean, the moment there where Texas had the interception and pulled it into a score, you were like, this game is not this close. I can't even believe we're in this situation. And I was waiting for cold takes exposed to get me because I had tweeted in the first half, like, Georgia's way more talented than Texas. I don't know why this conversation keeps happening that Texas is on Georgia and Alabama's talent level, because they're just not. But they're really good. Vandy could do it, but I think Vandy has lost the element of surprise because they're actually pretty good, and Texas is going to be pissed off.
How about Florida? Billy Napier might be saving his job.
I think he has at this point.
What are the odds that at the end of this year, Brent seat's hotter than Billy's?
I think there's
I don't
a chance
think
of that, maybe.
I mean,
I don't know.
It would have to look really ugly for Brent to get on the hot seat.
It could look really ugly.
But Napier's got a quarterback, man. Like, he's got the future. This is what we're going to be.
And that's why it's
kick me down the road. I've got this.
That's why it's so important for, again, I don't think they can win these 4 games in the SEC that are remaining. But boy, it would really help your case if Jackson Arnold goes out there and just looks like, at least it looks like a 5-star, shows you some of those glimpses that you're like, okay, they have something here. Again, I don't know what that looks like if they can do that. And I don't think it's all on Jackson to do that. There's a lot of other pieces that have to do that, but
which that helps. I mean, that helps Billy Napier that Graham Mertz got hurt. I mean,
yeah,
because now Lagway can play,
and he looks great.
He's getting better, and you can see a future with him and a future with Napier. Brent's got to have the same thing happen for him down the stretch to just get to the next phase of finding an offensive coordinator. By the way, anybody that's popped up on your radar that you'd like to add to the hot board?
Josh has got a pretty damn good one going. I think we're kind of all on the same page. There's some names that we really like, and it's like, if you can go get them, you call them. But once they say no, like a G.J. Kinney, like if you can get Kinney to leave Texas State a head coaching job, or if he doesn't get a Power 4 job, which I think we all think he might be up for a couple of those.
And I've been told that is a possibility, that OU could get Kinney away from Texas State with a good offer.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
He's making $1 million a year. Guys like, you can do better than that. He doesn't have to carry the same responsibility.
I think it's more of
he was making 2 a year.
I think it's more of a Kinney has to answer. One, it's does he get a Power 4 job, which I think he's going to be up for a few of them. And then number 2, how does Kinney view the situation at Oklahoma? Does he want to go there and be there for a year and then go get a head coaching job? Does he think it's going to succeed? Like, I would be interested to know what his view of it. I think he would take the Oklahoma job if he didn't get a Power 4 job, but we'll see. Him, Colton Nickey is another one that's like, you got to call him and at least see if he'd be interested.
Well, you know people in Tulsa. I mean, I know people in Tulsa in football.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked to some of those people, and they all believe that
he'd come. Well, that would be huge.
I think the person that that maybe talks to your dad a little bit would confirm that too.
Oh, well, there you go. Sam Stoy with the scoop.
I think Sam.
By the way,
I'm talking.
Oh, I know. I know who you're talking about.
George II.
I know that's my dad, Sam Stoya. He goes by Sam.
Oh, he does. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Which, by the way, Sam may be be joining the post-game podcast on Saturday. He'll be staying at the same hotel as us. So
you better pack,
guys.
You better pack the mic for him because Eddie will pull it. Oh, I forgot the third mic.
I'll bring it.
One that is interesting that somebody has brought up to me, and the more I look at him, the more I kind of am intrigued, is a Jeff Nixon at Syracuse with all they've turned. I mean, they've made. God, I'm going to go blank on the kid's name. The Ohio State quarterback,
Kyle McCord.
You said it 3 times now.
Yeah,
it's like
sorry,
juice.
I didn't hear it. He's made him pretty functional. He was Matt Rule's offensive coordinator at Baylor, co-OC in 2017 through 19. I don't love that
he was there with Grimes,
coach, guys. That's a
What's his background?
That's the thing I get stuck on. A lot of NFL. Of NFL. Was with the Eagles, the Dolphins, the 49ers. Obviously, he was with Rule at Carolina. Spent last year with the Giants as their running backs coach. So a lot of running backs, like a lot of that going on. But he also has some special teams, some tight ends. So again, like there's a lot of guys that make sense, but then you have to get into how does that impact the overall scheme. Like I love the Shanahan guy at Indiana. I think he's really interesting. He's a receivers coach. Is he going to move spots, or does that force you to do something with him at Jones? Like there's a lot of stuff where this reverberates. And again, my biggest problem with when they hired Seth Luttrell was he doesn't coach quarterbacks, and now he's just suddenly the quarterbacks coach.
Yeah.
That's not as easy as everybody thinks it is. So I think you want a guy with some quarterback background, and Sinceri has it. Maybe he and Shanahan come together. They clearly have a lot of connection together. But what does that do with Emmett Jones? Does Shanahan coach tight ends if Oklahoma were to bring him in? There's ways around it that you could work. But I think there's some people are just like, well, yeah, just hire him. Well, okay, what position does he coach? How does that work in with the rest of the staff?
I'm going to throw a name out there, and I know Josh will remember me throwing this name around a lot. And look, I'm kind of like Greg Roman is a guy in the NFL that has been so many different places. I think he was with Harbaugh with the 49ers when they went to the Super Bowl with Kaepernick. I think he was his offensive coordinator. He was at the Ravens when Lamar Jackson first got there. And he's been in places where it just doesn't work, and he moves on somewhere else. I think the college Greg Roman might be Jeff Grimes because I loved him at Baylor. Now he's at Kansas, and it looks like he looks like a dog because he's following Colton Nickey, and they're not doing as well. They're losing a lot of games, but we talked about this before. OU wants a guy with SEC experience that's been in that league. Jeff Grimes has been at Auburn. He's been at LSU. Then he went to BYU. He's been to Baylor. Now he's at Kansas. But if you talk about a guy that runs an NFL-type offense that can highlight talented players, receivers, running backs, you remember his offenses at Baylor, Josh? They were really good. I mean, and really, it was like he was that type of offensive coordinator that you would watch and you would go, okay, this guy really, really understands how to move people around.
How old is he?
He's not young. He is 56.
Mid-50s, probably?
56.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what's so fascinating. Do they go with somebody like that who has a ton of experience? I don't know how great of a recruiter he is.
He's an offensive line guy, too.
Offensive line guy. I wonder if you could Kansas has been really bad this year. I wonder if you could get him to come on staff as your offensive line coach.
Kind of resurrect his career a little bit?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I also don't know. I don't think Kansas is looking to fire him. I don't know.
And I know, again, and I know people will see this and be like, Carey, what are you talking about? His last couple of years at Baylor, he was terrible, and Kansas is terrible. What he runs, you need to be talented up front. You need to have an offensive line. And at Kansas and Baylor, that's hard to do. At Oklahoma, you can find the kind of bodies he needs to run his scheme. Because if he has people, that first year at Baylor, that's why they were so damn good the year he came in from BYU, because they had Spencer Durango, who was an NFL guy. They had some good bodies up front. And they ran that scheme, and it worked really, really well. I mean, guys, that year, I mean, that was the year that OU went down there and lost, you know, the first loss for Riley's 2021 team. Like, that was they basically turned a linebacker into a 1,200-yard back at Baylor. I mean, like, they just were like, okay, that guy's going to come over here. We don't have a running back. And he ran for a ton of yards. And
he won with Gary Bohannon at quarterback.
Yes. Dave Aranda didn't think that guy could play to the point he gave a job to a kid that transferred out 2 years later. I mean, like, Jeff Grimes can coach, and I get why people don't believe that, but I think that's the problem. He's fallen into a rut where he's having to coach guys that aren't probably fully capable of running what he needs to do. Or
now,
I'll
say this.
Yeah, I can't do it.
I'll say this. I don't know if that's a guy you want to hire if you're Brent Venables and your job depends on it.
Yeah.
Yep. That's a tough sell to the fan base.
But if you get down and you miss on your second, third, fourth guy, he could be an answer.
I still like Joe Craddock a lot. It just makes a lot of sense at Tulane.
People have to stop with the Kingsbury stuff too. It's not happening.
No.
Guys, does Craddock become even more interesting if, say, they did lose both quarterbacks? Like, do you let that filter into your brain? Like, is that part of it?
Definitely.
Yeah, because you expect him to bring Mensa with him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could Grimes bring Jaden? Is Jaden Daniels? He still got a year? Is it?
I don't know if he want to bring him.
It's Jalen.
Jalen.
I always want to call him Jaden too. It's Jalen. Yeah.
Wow, just old man syndrome.
Hey, welcome, George. Sit down.
Jaden Daniels is in the NFL. Jalen Daniels is at Kansas.
He's also not had a good year, I don't think. I think he's turned the ball over a lot.
Yeah. That magic seems to
who
have
did
left.
they beat last week? They got somebody. Finally, after just playing terrible.
They got K-State this week, so.
And maybe that's why he
matchup.
doesn't look like he's having that great of a year. Maybe Jalen Daniels just isn't very good.
I do think, though, to your point about Grimes and Craddock, I think it's going to be someone with some sort of Southeastern ties. Like, it's going to be whether that's coaching in the SEC or like a G.J. Kinney, who I think he was an offensive analyst at Arkansas at one point, but he's from Texas, played in Oklahoma. He gets, he understands, because I think that's a crucial part of this, that it has to be somebody like they're not like Andy Ludwig. As much as I like him and I think he's a pretty good OC, he doesn't really have that background. He also just it would be an incredibly tough sell to the fan base to hire somebody who literally just had to resign.
Yeah.
Is it shocking to you? Like, there's not that guy. Like, Kenny is the one guy that I'm like, okay, that's pretty kind of sexy. It's going to be kind of hot. People will like that. Like it. They'll be into the whole idea. I think that's an incredibly easy sell. Most of these guys, like, it's either like, and it's not that I don't think they're good. It's that I don't think most fans know who the hell these guys are. This isn't like a couple years ago when Dabo hired Garrett Riley. Like, there was that clear, like, oh yeah, go get him. There's not that obvious guy that you're like, okay, he's due for a move up and, be there for a couple years and go get a big P5 job of his own.
That's why I think it's going to be it could be somebody that we're not even thinking about, that they're able to maybe go poach or something like that, or that emerges late in the year. I don't know. But I do think the list of names we've come up with is definitely all guys. Like, I think G.J. Kinney, Joe Craddock, all these guys, like, I think they're going to be considered, and I really don't think OU knows who it's going to be yet. Like, I don't think it's like.
I think they're going to turn over every rock.
Yes,
I mean, they're going to interview people that they know might not be a fit, just to see if there's something that sparks their interest in an interview process.
Yeah, but I think
that's a smart way to do it.
I think there's a few qualifications for it. I think they have to be a quarterback's coaches too. Like, I think that is something that they're going to really want, and I think they're going to.
But George, I don't think you have to do it that way. I think it's an offensive coordinator and play caller first.
Yeah,
that's what you're. And if he's a QB guy, or like Jeff Grimes, if he's an OL guy, you let him build his own staff. I mean, you have to give.
Well, yeah,
a high level OC, if he wants to come in and say, "I love Bill Bedenbaugh, but he doesn't fit my style," like. I have my own guy. You have to let him blow everybody out.
I'm saying, I'm literally saying the exact same thing. I'm just saying that I think they would prefer the offensive coordinator also be the quarterback's coach. Is what I'm saying. Now, if they,
I don't know if I believe that. I don't know if that's true.
I don't know. I think it is. I think that they would prefer. I'm not saying that is the end all be all, but I think that they would prefer that. And most of these guys we're talking about are. Almost every guy we're talking about is. Okay. Other than Jeff Grimes, who I think would be a pretty good hire.
But I don't think he's number one on the list.
No. But
I don't know. I guess Kevin Wilson has me thinking that it doesn't matter if you're a QB guy or not. Because he was a quarterback coach, but he was an offensive lineman in college.
I think if it's not...
I don't care if you played it at all.
Yeah, I don't care if you played it either. But I just think that... I don't know. I think that they...
I want to go back to the multiverse where they elevated Cale Gundy and he didn't get fired and just see what that world looked like.
Probably would have been pretty good.
I think Cale Gundy would have been a really good offensive coordinator.
I think so too.
Maybe he'll get back into coaching.
Why?
I think that there was a lot of untapped potential there. And look, I don't know why Cale just... I know we talked about it, but he wanted to be an offensive coordinator. Just never... The opportunity never presented itself, and he was happy at Oklahoma because he played here. And so it was just like... It was this perpetual thing, but, I mean, look at the Alamo Bowl. I mean, you didn't come out of that... Or not the Alamo Bowl, the Alamo Bowl with Oregon is what I'm talking about. When Bob was the interim, that offense was awesome in that bowl game.
Yeah, but that's one game. I'm more so Josh.
The defense was good. Brian Odom's not going to be a DC because of it.
Well, the defense wasn't great in that game, actually. I think they gave up like 30-something points to Oregon.
Well, relative to where that defense had been.
Yes, yeah, right. You're right. But I guess mine's not because of how well they performed in the Alamo Bowl. That's one game. Caleb Williams was your quarterback.
But, I mean, you can't tell me a guy that was – and look, playing success has nothing to do with coaching success, but a guy that has been in that family, his brother – was an excellent offensive mind. I think Cale has an excellent offensive mind. I really, it's going to drive me crazy till the end of time that if he doesn't get an opportunity to call. I mean, remember, he was an offensive coordinator for Watson Brown to start his career.
But does Cale want to get back into coaching at all?
Oh yeah, I would think so. I mean, you make a lot of money in coach. You make a lot more money in coaching than you do in radio.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't mean that. I don't know. I don't know Cale at all, but I don't think that he is a candidate for the OU job.
Well, I'm not saying that he is. I'm just saying.
No, I know.
Go back to an alternate universe where he became the offensive coordinator. I think it would have worked out a lot better than this has.
Carey, my only issue, and I'm only bringing this up because it comes up on the board a lot. Like, they should just go get Cale Gundy to call the offense for the last 5 or 6 games. And I don't know. Maybe it does go great. I have no idea.
Look, Cale is not coming back.
Yes,
on either side, he doesn't want to come back, and Brent doesn't want him to come back. So I mean, that's oil. They became oil and water after he got fired.
Yeah, I just find it odd when people say this, like with such conviction. If he was that revered, wouldn't somebody have come to offer him a job if he does want to get back in coaching? Like, wouldn't that have happened?
But coaching is a buddy system too. You know this. Yep. Yeah, you know it as well as anybody. And all his buddies are at the University of Oklahoma because he's never gone anywhere else.
That's fair.
He's just never had that opportunity.
Yeah, none of it matters.
We don't know.
He's not going to coach in Oklahoma, but it is an interesting... I've thought about that too.
All right. I think we've expanded or exasperated.
This is a long pod.
A little over an hour and a half. Yeah.
Thanks a lot for the contribution there, Eddie.
That guy sucks.
All right. We'll leave that for you two to work out on the YouTube channel. Also, don't forget, we'll have the game day preview with our own
Ginny Peronchek.
Oh no, game day preview.
Oh.
You and Eddie.
Yes, game day preview. Zach Berry from
Berry.
Ole Miss Spirit, I believe, is their
omspirit.com. So along with giving you guys all the rest that happened at practice this week, so that'll be coming on Thursday, and then the family business with Jenny Baranchik. We'll see. We got to check with Isaac, see how things are going with the family after the announcement that the patriarch of the Stoops family, Evelyn Stoops, has passed away. So our thoughts, prayers with the Stoops family as well. But appreciate you guys listening. And we will be back again next week with another edition of the Unofficial 40 podcast right here on Soonerscoop.com.